What's up, guys? My name is Zach, your host of Attack the Rack, an NBA breakdown and basketball analysis channel, just looking to bring a little bit of the X's and O's of the beautiful game to your day. I want to do a short video today about the Boston Celtics, just a general overview of where they've gone in the season and sort of what I think their fit in the playoff picture for the 2022 NBA playoffs looks like, specifically within the Eastern Conference. Let's get into it, man. Now, the NBA moves at such a fast pace that it can be really difficult to lock down how a team's performance is in the grand scheme of things if you evaluate any one game or even 1 week. So I'd like to take a more broad look at the Celtics season this season, Jason Tatum's greatness over the last couple of months, and what I think this team's playoff chances look like, specifically given the situation that we're in as of today, March 29th, 2022. So I was originally going to talk about how I thought that the Celtics had a very strong defensive identity this season. And furthermore, I was going to talk about how I thought the X factor to the Boston Celtics going deep in the playoffs was to maintain the health of their front court and ensure that they can continue locking down on the defensive end. But just last night, Rob Williams suffered a torn meniscus. That's a complicated injury, man. I mean, we've seen it's really sort of an iffy day-to-day injury, and I can't imagine that they're going to have Rob Williams back at full strength before the playoffs. And never mind before the playoffs, what's truly worrying is that Rob Williams might not come back at full strength even in the playoffs. These sort of knee injuries are really sort of tough to gauge the severity of, and furthermore, it's also difficult to assess what kind of impact it's going to have on a player's ability on the court once they return. And that's something that's really worrying to me, as I think that the Boston Celtics front court without Rob Williams is looking a little thin. I mean, Al Horford has looked as good as ever this year. Guys like Aaron Nesmith, Grant Williams, and Daniel Tice have stepped up to be stronger performers than I think many people expected them to be. Specifically given their history, Nesmith being a young guy sort of still being developed, and Daniel Tice's constant movement within the league, as well as his lack of any one consistent role on a team for a sufficient amount of time, specifically within a playoff format. I think my first thought about sort of adjustments that they're going to need to make to be able to compete without their star big this year is perhaps they're going to have to look into playing a little bit more zone defense to fill the gap in the front court. But I digress. The NBA is unpredictable, and maybe we see Time Lord come back from this injury in time to compete in the playoffs and give the Celtics that boost in the front court they need. But regardless, let's talk about something a little bit more positive, because I think that the Celtics this year are a team to be celebrated, especially after the incredible brand of basketball that they have been playing. This is a cool bit of information that I think slipped by unnoticed under a lot of people's noses amongst all the other excitement and hoopla that's going on in the Eastern Conference and in the NBA as a whole right now. After RJ Barrett banked a buzzer-beating 3 against the Celtics on January 6th, the Celtics were in the 11th seed in the East, and since that time, they've managed to climb all the way back in about 2.5 months to take the first seed with only about 7 games remaining until the playoffs. This is a stellar level of performance from the Celtics, and specifically Jason Tatum, that we've seen in bursts and flashes before, but never for this sort of longevity. They were 27-25 on January 31st, and as of March 27th, almost 2 full months later, they are 46-28, and they've battled back to be within 1 game back of the first seed. What makes this even more impressive is they were 36-36, exactly 500 last year, and they had a first-round elimination in the playoffs. New coach Ime Udoka is a big key. It was said that Udoka expressed a desire to work with the Celtics' young players, guys like Robert Williams, Grant Williams, Romeo Langford, Aaron Nesmith, and Peyton Pritchard. He spoke about expediting their growth and involving them in a team as young players who can contribute to a team with playoff aspirations. Ime Udoka also spoke about reestablishing a defensive mentality in Boston this year, which, is pretty fitting given the kind of coach he is and the background he has. He was with the San Antonio Spurs, Sixers, and Brooklyn Nets in his career. And, while he's worked on offense and defense, defense has always been his primary responsibility in coaching roles. And I think that's why he's an excellent pick for this team, as we've already seen that this team has excellent offensive options and is at their best when they're all on the same page defensively on the court. Sometimes they look unstoppable, especially when they're playing to their best in their defensive capability on the other side of the ball. This team has a lot of promise, and as of right now, they're tied for 5th in defensive rating with the Milwaukee Bucks. But man, we're not going to talk poorly about Coach Stevens here. That man is a mastermind. But Udoka did have a point in pointing out that last season, in the 2020-2021 season, Boston Celtics were 27th in assists. They need to have more team basketball if they want to complement guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It can't always be isolation style basketball, even in a playoff format. I personally always thought that Jaylen Brown might not get the shine he needs next to Jason Tatum. However, after watching the Celtics this season, it's clear to see that Jaylen Brown can be a peripheral star when needed, when Jason Tatum is on fire, or put the team on his back when Tatum is injured, resting, or out. Not all teams really have the luxury of having 2 stars, especially ones that can complement each other's strengths so well. So I think the Celtics are in a really good spot. I was going to do this thing where I was like, everybody's sleeping on the Celtics, man. Nobody knows what they're capable of. But I guess it's too hard to ignore, so there goes that video script. Anyways, these were just my opinions, man. If you agree with them or thought that I said something that you liked, go ahead and drop a subscription on the video for me. It really helps my channel grow, and it gets my content out to other people just like you, basketball fans that love the game. Thanks for listening, basketball fans. I'll see you next time.